Welcome back into Delphine's Handcrafted. We are so excited. Why are we excited? What are we going to talk about?
Sorry. We're excited because we're doing the Twist and I was forgetting the name. Twist and Turns, COS Twist and Turns MKAL.
Yes. So, clue 1, we're a little behind in taping. So we are going to do clue 1 today and the start of clue 2.
Yeah.
Which has 4 parts basically. So we're only going to talk a little bit about clue 2. So spoiler alert, if you have not started your MKAL and you don't want to see what it's going to look like, please. I'm never going to say it's any other time, but turn us off. Don't watch this because spoiler alert, right?
Yep.
Okay, so our MKAL. Do you like your yarn, Jasmine?
So we both got kits from Stephen and Penelope.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephen West and his
partner,
like company,
business
partner, whatever. I guess yarn company. Where are they based? I don't remember.
I think Amsterdam. I don't know.
Okay, well, we both ordered one of his kits.
I might be totally wrong.
And I got a kit from Old Maiden Ant Yarns. And I got, what did you say it was called? Kelpie Owl.
Mm-hmm.
So, my accent color is in the color Kelpie. My main color is in Midnight Owl, which is a brown. And my contrast color is put on the day.
And do you like these yarns?
I do. I like my yarns as well. I'll talk about that more as we show the project. So.
And I got the walk yarns. Sorry. I was looking for the name of one. The Patina Moss.
And Frost.
And is the name of the kit. And the main color I'm using is called Patina, and the contrast color is called Frosted Moss, and the
I got them backwards.
Accent color is called More. Yes, and mine is a single ply, worsted weight 100% wool, and
fingering weight. It's
fingering weight. It's a single ply. What did I say? Worsted.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sorry, fingering weight. 100% wool.
Mine is 80% superwash merino, 20% bamboo, and it is 4-ply.
Yes, and I'm loving my yarn. It's caught up on itself maybe 3 times, but we're thinking that's because when we wound it, it just was like catching up inside.
Our yarn winder doesn't do well with fingering weights, so
I started pulling from the outside at one point, which is making it easier and not catching up on itself for me. Yeah, I had to rewind actually part of my ball because it just was becoming a knotted mess inside. But I'm loving it. The colors, Jasmine and I don't tend to do color mixes like Stephen West likes to choose. I do like the main color with the contrast color when I add in the accent color. I love the accent color, just not sure I would have necessarily chose that, but it is a mystery knit along, so we shall see where it goes. I still think mine looks good. What do you think about your colors, Jasmine?
Sorry, my bag has a little thread that I need to snip off. Well, I was going to talk about it as we showed the project, but I like all of my colors separately. I'm not sure how I feel about them together. There's a reason for that though, and as I will talk about as we show the first part.
Right. So the first part, clue 1.
I'm sorry, I need
gotta hide clue 2 as best as I can so you can see clue 1. So clue 1 basically looks like this. Now mine is bigger than Jasmine's. It has, you're doing some braiding, and you do a I-cord cast on and cast off. I know you probably can't see that, but I-cord cast on and cast off. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. That's sort of the I'm going to call it the centerpiece, showstopper beginning. So main color is the darker color for me, and the lighter color is the contrast color. In this case, we have not, in Clue 1, used the accent color. But as you can see, mine is sort of more drapey. And when Jasmine puts hers up, you'll see hers is smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's smaller than hers.
So it's mostly
the same size and width, but hers is like a couple inches longer than mine. I mean, yours is like maybe an inch wider, but it's like most of the difference is in the length, height.
Yes,
height. I don't know.
I think this is beautiful. This is just
gorgeous. So the issues, and they're not major issues. The thoughts that I'm having as I look at my colors together is, and it's partially the design with the colors, is it just looks like Halloween to me because it's stripes and it's a pumpkin orange and it's brown.
Yes, and I think on the video it's looking more fall-y color, but it is a much the orange is much more pumpkin-y, I guess, than it's showing on the screen.
It's very Halloween. So
it's growing on me though.
Yeah.
And Jasmine's not sure it's growing on her.
I don't like think it's ugly or anything. It just looks like Halloween to me.
Yeah. I think it's gorgeous though.
So yeah.
and
it's Halloween.
Yeah. I was just thinking about a comment that was made.
Oh, I keep commenting that we should just make this wider and turn it, make another one and just make it wider and turn it into a skirt.
Yeah, that's true. And I had mentioned after this clue that I thought it would look really pretty in a single color, and Jasmine showed me a picture of somebody that actually posted one that they're doing in a single color, and it looked really cool. So I loved the look of Clue 1. I'm not going to say I loved Clue 1.
Oh, but. Yeah, I like how it looks.
Yes.
It's the main issue that I have with it is the colors, and that's because it just looks like Halloween colors to me because it's striped. But I do like the colors. It's just that it looks like Halloween.
So the reason mine is bigger is because when I started, my gauge seemed so tight because he had us do garter stitch. I keep wanting to say stockinette, and I know I'm not right. Garter stitch for the gauge, and that is not what the whole thing was. So I felt like it just was so tight, and so I went up a needle, and we didn't really compare along the way for a while what the differences was. But once I got started, I loved the drape, and I'm like, this is cool. It looks nice this way. I'll just stay with it. But then I'm really afraid I'm going to run out of yarn. Especially the main color. So I'm really worried about that. We shall see how it goes. Still concerned, but I did go down a needle size for Clue 2, and it seems to be working out. So even though I love the drape and the look, I'm a little concerned about the yarn. Because we don't know what Clue 3 and 4 will look like. We have no idea how much of the yarn we're going to be using. So I guess we will see, and I'll have to figure it out because you cannot get this yarn anymore.
Yeah, so we can talk about a few of the mistakes that the mess-ups that we've had.
Mess-ups.
So, I forgot, to do, there's like a 3-stitch decrease throughout it, and I forgot to do it on one of the rows, so I had to drop down. I mean, I could have just decreased the stitch out, but it creates like a raised stitch, so I would have been able to see it. Very obviously.
She's talking about this section right here.
Yeah, so so I dropped down stitches and had to fix that. And I can still see it because it definitely does look. It looks like a little bit looser. Than the other ones, but it looks better than it did whenever it was missing. So I fixed that, and then also, she reminded me that I did this earlier. I actually completely forgot about it. I didn't enjoy necessarily doing this pattern. The chevron parts, these little wide chevron looking thing parts, I enjoyed doing. This bit, this braided bit, I didn't, because this, it was just, and we're not giving anything away because he has it in his videos posted on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So this bit, it's just like every like 3 or 4 rows, is it?
Mm-hmm.
You're casting on, and then
you
the next
cast
row,
on, you do 2 rows, you cast
like,
off the next.
Yeah, it's like, it's just casting on and casting off constantly, which is my least favorite thing to do in knitting. I hate casting on and I hate casting
and 5
off.
times across the row you do that too. So you're doing so much knitting, then you're doing this section where you cast on or cast off, and then
So
continue.
I didn't.
And you do it 5 times across the row, so it's like constant back and forth, back and forth. You're like flipping your whole project around to cast on, then you're flipping it back to continue, then you turn it around.
Which I've watched a couple of people's videos on doing this, and they've all said the same thing as my thought process on the casting on and casting out. Both of them, all of them. I've watched probably only like 3 people, but all of the people that I've watched who have talked about Clue 1 all said the same thing about one of the people I watched even said, I saw that you had to cast on, cast off so much, like I did part of it, and then I read that you had to cast on, cast off that much, and they literally put it down for a few days.
Yeah, this took me 32 hours to do. Now, I'm slower at knitting than Jasmine, but what was driving me nuts, I said after the first, I think 8 rows or so, I said to Jasmine, I can't stand this twisting my thing back and forth and turning it around, and then all of a sudden it hit me. He did call it twist and turns. I don't know if that's why he called it twist and turns, but it was constantly back and forth, like turning it back and forth throughout the row, not just at the end of the row. So that part drove me nuts. But
I think the casting on, casting off is worth this like interesting like braided kind of look.
Yes.
I just didn't enjoy doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But it did create like a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't enjoy doing it.
So my.
I forgot to say. I got completely off topic. So during the cast on, cast off, on one of the cast offs, like I forgot only on one, like this one, like there's 5 other ones, only on one of them, I forgot to cast off. So the next row, I realized I didn't cast off. So on that one, so I had to like quickly like undo those few stitches that you have to cast off, and like I just dropped down a row and then cast it off using the, like I didn't have to undo a whole row to fix it. I just dropped those stitches and cast them off.
And my wonderful mistake was that I continued to cast
off
past where I was supposed to cast off and had to go back. Thank God I caught it fairly quickly, so I was able to fix it. But yes, I'm like, what am I doing? I am continuing to cast off. And you shouldn't. You should know that you don't, because you have to keep moving a stitch marker. So I moved the stitch marker and just kept right at it.
You were just,
like,
what
am I doing? I don't know.
You were in your own world.
I was in my own world, but it worked.
I would have rather my mistake than your mistake though, because I don't like undoing cast off parts. I don't mind dropping down one row and fixing a mistake. I don't like undoing a cast off.
I was able to do it though. A couple times I've dropped stitches, but they've been fixed immediately, but like my needles, I'll like sit it down and think that I'm just gonna like be able to pick it right back up, and something happens, I bump the table or whatever, and they'll pop off, and it's annoying. And Jasmine's always saying, I can help you, I'll do it. No, I can do it myself. Leave me alone.
I don't say that I'll do it. I say, do you need my help? I ask you if you want my help. It's like, I
don't want her help. I want to do this myself. I'll ask if I need help. I haven't really, the help I've asked you is mostly, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Can you look at this and make sure that I'm doing this correctly?
And there was, like, another issue you were having is, were you forgetting to decrease or something? She was ending up with like more stitches on one end side or like than the other.
I didn't forget to decrease. What I was doing, if you do the pattern, you're gonna have to be very careful and put the stitch marker where he says. And what would happen is I would put the stitch marker like 1 over. So I was having more on the one section before the stitch marker. Is that correct? I should be having I think I was having more on the one section, and then the next section I wouldn't have enough. And it's not that I didn't have enough stitches, it's that my stitch marker was being put on the wrong part. Like,
it wasn't
I'd
being
move it
put
over.
on. It wasn't. You weren't moving it over. You were increasing in the wrong part. You were increasing like either before the stitch marker when you were supposed to be increasing after, or you were increasing after the stitch marker when you were supposed to be increasing before. The stitch marker wasn't moving. Like, you weren't moving the stitch marker.
But it turned out the same as far as I'm concerned. It looks the same. So, but I didn't like gain a bunch of stitches or lose a bunch of stitches, or I did gain some. I lost some. I lost some at some point.
I have no idea.
I don't.
I just know you were having.
But I figured it out.
The...
I counted hers to make sure I was sort of on track. And I thought I had, but when I came back, I was only like two stitches off or something. And it's just that my stitch markers were in the wrong, like they had moved over. I moved them over. Obviously, they didn't just move themselves over. But once I had that figured out and actually talking through it and counting hers, I realized it's like my brain understood what was happening with the pattern then, because I really don't knit a lot, so I'm just following the directions. It's not necessarily making sense what's happening, but it's almost like it put it into my understanding. Here's what's happening when you do this. This is what it looks. This is what it turns out like. So like it made sense to me then.
She's using the videos also a lot to. Have you mentioned that?
On Clue 2, I didn't. That I watched it, but I haven't. I'm just looking at the pattern at this point.
Yeah, but you were saying that it was like helpful. Like his videos are very helpful.
So is there anything else you want to talk about with Clue 1 besides that?
I finished.
So I did want to say, I'm going to say I'm a new knitter. I've been knitting not quite as long as Jasmine, almost as long as Jasmine, but I never really knit.
This month is a year since I started. I learned how to knit.
And I knit. What did I knit?
You started to knit maybe a month after me.
Yeah, but what have I knitted?
You knit a hat, two hats. You knit two hats.
I knit 2 hats, and I knitted maybe did I knit a scarf for Jory?
You used
a knitting machine for that, but
you didn't.
Oh no, I knitted socks.
Oh,
so,
that's right.
I don't
2
knit,
socks.
even though I've been knitting,
3 socks, but like a pair of socks and 1 sock.
Yeah, and I started that sweater, but that was recently too, and it's pretty much all knitting.
Yeah, most the socks were pretty recent.
So
as well.
He says if you were an adventurous beginner, that's how he puts it, adventurous beginner, and know how to knit, purl, increase and decrease. My statement is actually you don't have to know how to increase and decrease. You have to know how to knit and purl, because he doesn't show you how to do that. But his videos are so clear on how to increase and decrease that you don't, as far as I'm concerned, if you're watching the video, you don't need to know how to increase and decrease. You need to know how to knit and purl, and you might take longer, but if I can do this, you can do this. Like, yes, it took me forever. It took me forever. But it's because at first also, part of the problem at first was I was staring at those videos. I did not want to make a mistake.
Yeah, I watched like 2 minutes of the video, and he also shows that another helpful thing about his videos is, as far as I can tell from like the 2 minutes that I watched myself, and then I was like, I'll just read the pattern, and like glimpsing over at her video whenever she's playing it, he shows you both English style and continental style, how to do it. So
once I got it, I stopped watching the videos, but I was just being very careful to watch him for each row until you started repeating. And plus it helps to watch his videos, look at the pattern, and understand what the terminology is. If you don't read knitting patterns, I can read any crochet pattern, but knitting patterns, I was like,
oh, I did what?
What does this mean? What is this? What was it? Something marker.
Oh,
place marker. I'm like, what is this?
Which that shows up in like knitting. I mean, in crochet patterns. I've seen that show up in crochet patterns on like whenever you're doing like an amigurumi thing.
Maybe
like,
I just know it so well that I just like keep...
whenever like for the things that tell you to place a marker like in the beginning of like in the round. I've seen that show up on those things.
Yeah, but now I'm starting to understand just looking at the pattern. So when I started Clue 2, which we'll get to in a minute here, when I started Clue 2, I literally, even though I started watching the video, like I looked at the paper that I have it printed out, And I was like, I get what it says. Like, I already know what it says. So that's good that I'm starting to learn that too. So I have learned. Jasmine, you said you didn't really learn much, right?
Yeah, I did use his videos for this braided part because I wanted to make sure I actually understood like how to do it. So I did look at the video to make sure I was doing it correctly. And I didn't really learn this because I already knew how to do it. I just hadn't done it before. An I-cord cast on and an I-cord cast off. I've never done them before, but I knew like how it worked.
So yeah, I've learned
it, I guess. But
I've learned I-cord cast on, I-cord cast off. I love the way it sort of makes an I-cord at the end, just by the way you're slipping the stitches. That's new to me.
That's also the first time I've done that. I knew that was a thing. I knew how to do it. I hadn't done it before, so I'm doing new things. I haven't necessarily learned something new, but I'm doing new things.
Yeah, this center decrease, I think it's called a center double decrease. I don't think that's what his pattern calls, but I feel like somebody else called it that.
It's a 3-stitch decrease.
Yeah, and that was new to me. But
I have done that before. I can't remember when I had to do that before.
Yeah,
I
learned a lot. Really great experience. Frustrating for a while, but really great experience. And I learned a lot. And he is an amazing teacher.
She learned the difference, and I was reminded on a way to tell the difference between a make one right and a make one left. I frequently forget which one's which, so I tend to look it up to make sure I'm correct. But he said a way of remembering it, which I can't remember, so I can't repeat it, but he said a way of remembering how to do it.
I'll be right behind you.
Oh, for the right, yep, because right goes behind. That's something else you learned.
Yep. And now it's in my head. His voice is in my head. Stephen West, your voice is in my head. Yeah, he's an amazing teacher. So if you just started knitting and know knit and purl, it might take you a while like it did me, but you can do this. Like, it's just, he's amazing. All right. So that is clue 1.
Yep. We talked a lot for that.
On to clue 2. So if you
haven't done it,
have done clue 1, haven't done clue 2, this is the time that you might not want to have the spoilers. So,
and hopefully we didn't accidentally show part of clue 2.
Yes, if so, it was like smushed underneath, I believe. Okay, clue 2. So clue 2,
we haven't finished it yet.
No, it just started. So this is definitely a spoiler for people that if they haven't started it.
She's actually farther than me because she was knitting on it a bit more than I was.
Yeah, as I said, I'm really worried about running out of my main color yarn because I'm not done with. There's part 1, 2, 3, and 4 for clue 2. Part 1 I'm done. Part 2 I just started, and I'm now out of yarn for the main color. So, and I have one more skein, but like we only had 2, so I'm a little concerned. But this is the beginning. This is section 1 of clue 2 for me. So this is my accent color. This is the main color, and then this is, do I have the correct side up? Yep. Clue 2. There is more to clue 2. This side will be looking the same. Not my favorite thing, since you're purling a lot over here to match what you did over there. But that's all I got done on clue 2, and I'm now out of the main color yarn. So I basically have one of these panels, and I need to have 1, 2, what is it, 5? 5 of those panels. Everybody keep their fingers crossed on me and my yarn. I went down a needle size, and I do believe it looks okay going down the needle size. So that's what I got so far. Pretty cool. I like it, but I still think I would have picked a different color. Yep. Just because that's just me. I'm not so like, hey, let's use all kinds of colors. But it looks good. It does look good. And I love that color of yarn. I think I would have picked a different color maybe if I, knew ahead of time. So here's Jasmine's.
This is mine. I only need to finish this 5th main color panel, and then I'll be done with this side. So for this section, but this is mine. Nothing's really new for me. This is her first time doing. Is it your first time doing like kind of but kind of not. This is her first time doing like a larger short row thing, but there's like technically the heel turn of a sock is short rows.
Yeah.
But this is your first time doing like a bigger short row thing.
So short rows and then the twisted.
Oh yeah. Twisted rib.
Yeah, I've already learned stuff. I'm going to be learning more. We won't clue you into the rest because section 3 and 4 we haven't shown, and we're not going to talk about it. Yeah, but I know
do another video.
Yeah, I know what's coming up, and definitely new to me. Absolutely new to me. So I've learned. I've done more short row stuff now. Now once again it makes sense to me. Like the more I do these things, like it sort of makes sense to me what that means. And then what's that called? The twisted
rib.
Twisted rib. Yeah. So that's new too.
None of this is really new to me, but I'm enjoying it more.
Yeah.
Because it's a easily memorizable pattern.
Oh,
I don't need to look at the pattern for this. Literally, the only reason I have a pattern out for this is to tally off what row I'm on.
Yeah, I needed it for the twisted. Because I.
Oh yeah, because she can't read. She's not as easily able to like read this like row below and stuff to tell which.
It's not that. It's more I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing through back loop knit purling, through back loop knitting, and I understand. I can see the row below now. Like I understand exactly what you're saying.
That's how
but
I tell which one I'm on because I look at the row below and see.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say though. The more I do it, the more it makes sense to me in my head. So like it makes sense to you. You know what you're looking for. I don't even know if I look below and see that what that tells me to do for the twisted.
Well, that's why I said she's not as good at looking. Isn't that what
I can see it below. It just doesn't tell me what to do for that stitch then. In this case with the twisted.
Did I say it wrong?
I don't know. I thought you meant that I couldn't see the stitch below and figure out what I did.
No, I meant like you can't like read like the row below and tell like
it's more the understanding thing. It's like
that's what I meant. I don't know if I
that's still not necessarily making sense in my head yet, but it will. The more I do these things, this has been a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
I'm assuming you haven't made any mistakes
like
yet.
if you just go like this, these two colors together.
Yep.
I like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It amazes me, and mine's the same way. Just the color combinations, like to me, this color with this color makes this look so much different than this color with this color. Like just the main color itself looks to me so different.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how this is going to be pulled together in the end because these two are very different kind of.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, he makes very interesting shawls, so we're going to see. You haven't made a mistake yet, have you, on that?
No.
Yeah, I made a wonderful mistake.
Wait, no, I did.
Oh, did you?
I did because when I started the twisted rib in the accent color on one row, I did it backwards. I started with the wrong one, so and whenever I went on to the next row, I realized I did it backwards, so I didn't rip out the row. I just like went down stitch by stitch, and as I was knitting across, fixed it stitch by stitch, because that takes less time for me than ripping it out entirely.
So I have managed to make 2 mistakes already. One was just that I did an extra row, and I couldn't figure out. She kept saying, you're doing it backwards, and I'm like, why am I doing it backwards? But then it hit me, I did one more row of, it was the twisted rib, didn't I? I like did one more row, and it had me going in the opposite direction, so I was making the wider part, or I was trying to make it narrow where it should have been wide. Yeah. So all I had to do was, to make it easier on me, I just like pulled the whole color out because there wasn't that much.
Yep, because that's easier for you. I find it easier to just like rip back, like like row by row, like. But she just ripped the entire thing out.
But there was only like this much, like that makes it sound like I ripped.
Well, no, she didn't rip. She didn't frog like 10 inches of it or anything. She just It was like one section.
Yeah.
You had like an inch of
Yeah.
it done, and she frogged it.
So that got fixed easily. And the other thing, I basically had to rip it all out. I had to rip it all.
Yeah,
and
because you did it backwards.
Yeah, I didn't get very far, but you can figure out if you watch his video how far I got, because I'm working away and I'm working away, and I was doing fine. I was absolutely doing fine. And then he says, so let's double check to make sure you started in the right corner.
She did
and
not.
I looked and I didn't start in the right corner. So you might want to, if you haven't started it and you're like sort of like me, where you're trying to follow his directions and look at a paper and make sense of it because you're new to this, you might want to watch a little bit of his video so you don't same thing I did. And I may be the only person in the world that did this, I don't know, but I started in the right corner, started in the wrong corner, which was making me, of course, almost backwards. It would have made like the wider part where it shouldn't have been. So out it came. But yeah, I bet at least there I didn't.
And it would have made the right side on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So that's
So
that's the thing.
That's what I did first. But once I got going, I was good.
Yeah, it's an easy knit.
Yeah, this is much easier
Don't have
so
to pay
far
attention.
for me. It's not taking me nearly as long for this. As you can see, that took me. Well, I didn't really start until that evening. So, that's like maybe me working on and off yesterday, maybe for that section, and then I started the next session later last night. Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
this like I did this in maybe 3 hours.
I think you definitely did it quicker than me. She's still much faster. I'm not going to be doing any knitting marathons, but
which I sometimes knit faster than other times. Like it depends, because sometimes my hands, like I have issues with my wrists and my joints and my fingers and stuff. So sometimes I knit faster than other times. So I don't know. It depends. Oh, the other thing, a mistake technically that I was making in this. I mean, it's not a massive mistake, but
he did the same
I
thing.
sometimes forget to carry my yarn every row, so I do have a few sections, like this right here, where I have a color that I had to carry up, like.
And mine is doing that sometimes after this too, even though I'm doing what he says to do, and it's just right after these, so I don't know why.
I don't know, but I have a line of yarn, where I forgot to carry it. But that's not that big of a deal.
No.
And it's literally only over 2 rows. After where I was supposed to carry it, so it's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah. So we will finish Clue 2 when we finish Clue 2. And I mean, we'll finish it on a video when we finish it in person. But we're excited. I'm really excited that I made it through Clue 1 and like. I might have been really stressed, but yeah.
She dropped her stitches off of the needles a few times, and she just was very irritated. Very irritated.
Like, I can have little temper tantrums because all I kept saying was, I put too many hours in this, I don't want to have to do this, but I'm getting better at, usually they were just coming off the needle and I was panicking and I wouldn't get them back on before they started slipping down, but I ended up having to fix some that slipped down 2 rows. Was that yesterday?
Yep, maybe.
And I was able to do them myself and fix it, and they went in the right position too. I did them correctly.
Yeah, I don't really panic about that anymore, unless it's like cables, of which I can usually figure out it eventually after staring at it how to fix the drop stitches on cables, but it takes me longer to figure out what's going on. But as long as it's not cables, I can usually figure out how to pick them up easily, so I don't really panic about that anymore. Thank goodness.
All right, so there is our MKAL Clue 1 and our MKAL part of Clue 2.
Yeah.
And we will share the rest of Clue 2 when we're done with it. everybody, we hope that you're enjoying doing the MKAL if you're doing it. If you're not, maybe you can get on board. I don't know if you'll catch up. Maybe if you're a marathon knitter, somebody on Ravelry is doing 2 at once. I don't know.
I don't know how they have time.
I don't either. Because even a seasoned knitter, Jasmine sent me a video of somebody else's, and even a seasoned knitter was saying how long it was taking her for that clue 1. I don't think clue 2 is going to take nearly as long. Of course, I'm not doing section 3 and 4 of it, but
somebody who's been doing it for a few years that I watch, and this is the first one we've done, so I'm not sure if this is a true statement or not, but somebody that I was watching who's been doing it for like the past like 4 or 5 years said that clue 1 usually is like the longest like time consuming one. But again, I've never done this, so I don't know how true that is. But
so we're enjoying it. There was been some frustrations along the way, but we got them all done, and we got it done in time, and I anticipate us getting this done in time unless something happens in our lives that prevents it. Everybody, we hope that you're enjoying your time. Let us know what you think of the MKAL so far if you're doing it. Let us know what you think about our color combinations. We actually didn't choose these. We just chose the kits. So, yeah, let us know what you think. And I'm curious what the next part is. If you have an idea what you think the next part is, let us know. Because you just never know which way you're going on these MKALs that he does. He goes all over the place. And this one is called Twists and Turns. So, we're enjoying it. We will see you later, and we will keep you up to date on our MKAL. Everybody have a great week. Bye.